good evening. Thank you all so much for joining us for our last session of the day, where we have a group of distinguished guests to talk about the enterprise architect relevant takeaways from Sapphire 2025. So today I will be moderating our panel. My name is Sara Stasila. I lead our architecture advisory practice for our Midwest market unit for SAP. With that, I will hand it off to Matthew.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to be here. My name is Matthew Simoncini, and I work for Panasonic North America in our enterprise applications group. I thought about it this morning, and I think it's just about 30 years of SAP experience. So, like I said, glad to be here and glad to share our story.
Fantastic. I will continue clockwise with Venu.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Venu Gaddam. I bring over 20 plus years of global experience in various roles and also in various industries. I am with SAP as a principal architect, guiding our customers with their cloud and AI journey. Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, Sugato.
Hi, I'm Sugato Bose. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you might be. I'm chief architect at Medline. Let's see, for the uninitiated, Medline is a $23 billion, about 40,000 employees. Oh, did I?
Yeah, so you
can you
dropped
hear me?
for a second, but you're back now. You're
Okay,
back now.
so I guess the last line was we have about 40,000 employees, 300,000 products, presence in 125 countries. I lead the enterprise architecture function. We actually are involved in every transformation program that you can think of, and there are quite a few of them running. And we are also trying to move away from being a delivery-oriented organization to a more strategic, technical advisory, leadership organization, technical leadership organization within the group which I'm leading. Before Medline, I have led strategic programs for many Fortune 500 companies through my tenure at IBM, Bearing Point. Have been in the field for 25 years. And I think I have worked in many industry verticals, including, obviously, I'm doing medical supplies and med device now. I have worked in pharmaceuticals, retail, high tech. So my varied experience, I think, gives me a little bit of a unique perspective than many of my fellow practitioners in the field. That's all I'll say.
Great, thank you. So Venu, I'm going to ask you to kick it off. So coming out of Sapphire 2025, what did you think was the most valuable takeaway for enterprise architects?
So for me, there are three valuable takeaways for enterprise architect. I will start with number one, which is the flywheel effect, which Christian Klein announced on day one. SAP provides vast business processes, line of businesses, S4, and all of these applications that you run generate vast amounts of data. And as you know, data is the key for AI, and this data fuels AI. And the results of this will then be infused back to the application. So it's kind of creates this flywheel effect. So that end-to-end flywheel effect has been articulated on day one. And the second key takeaway is about the integrated tool chain, how it can help business transformations, especially by integrating LeanIX for enterprise architecture, Signavio for business process integration, Cloud ALM for the operations, and also project management, or ensuring all the milestones are met on a timely basis, and WalkMe for digital adoption trainings, and also Tricentis for test management. So it kind of helps businesses to transform in a very efficient manner. And the third takeaway is the emphasis on clean core. We also had a lot of customers emphasizing the importance of clean core, how it helps their businesses, be upgrade ready, take advantage of all the innovations that they have. And there was also an announcement from SAP about the business suite applications, which includes SAP Build as part of these packages, so that customers can take advantage of the build and use extensibility on build instead of doing it on core. So those are the key takeaways from my perspective would be for the enterprise architects.
Great. Thanks, Venu. So, Matthew, can you talk a little bit about what Panasonic's perspective was and what your organization felt were the key takeaways coming out of Sapphire this year?
Yeah, sure. So, to sort of reiterate what we heard at Sapphire this year was a heavy emphasis on clean core, as well as continued emphasis on AI, and then new emphasis on business data cloud. So, from a Panasonic perspective, we're already several years into our S4 journey and continuing to bring on more of our operating companies onto S4. So the continued emphasis and I would call it maturity of SAP's approach to clean core was extremely important to us at Sapphire. And from an AI perspective, we're actually just kicked off our uptime phase of an upgrade to SAP S4HANA 2023, which will allow us to explore use cases around Joule specifically. And then business data cloud, obviously, the approach resonates with us because we have a lot of data and analytics needs, and the approach to build business context into data coming out of our systems really makes a lot of sense to us. So those were the three, I think from a Panasonic perspective and what's most important to us, those were three. Those weren't the only three, but those were the three predominant announcements that were made or messages that were sent during the conference. And I came home with a laundry list of things to do. So always fun to attend an event like Sapphire.
And Sugato, for Medline, what were the most important or the biggest takeaways that your organization had?
Thanks, Sara. I think before I talk about the key takeaways, I think, you will see me responding to, most of the questions most of the topics we're going to talk about from the lens of a landscape which is multi-vendor. It's extremely complex in nature. I mean, we are heavy users of SAP, but we have heavy investments in Azure. We have heavy legacy investments that we are trying to rationalize. So it becomes a much more complex environment when you're dealing with a very complex landscape with multivariate challenges, right? And I'm thinking that our audience has people coming from enterprises which have similar scenarios. So that's the perspective I'll try to bring, right? Being involved in the trenches for many SAP programs in my career, I'm very happy that is evolving from a transactional ER to a thought process for a platform for business transformation, surrounded by modular tool chains like BTP, Signavio, LeanIX, ALM. I think it's a complete suite. There has been I feel like a lot of thought has gone into the vision, which I completely support, to be honest. I think the vision is very forward-leaning, but I think it seems to me that it assumes a landscape where most enterprises are not there yet. For example, for ECC-heavy organizations like ours, transformation is not really a leap. It's a sequence, right? There has been so much investment that has gone into it. I mean, our ECC environment, for example, has 80,000 customizations. I think and that is our financial book of record. So I think the architecture must be the bridge where SAP is actually going, right? So talking about what we are doing at Medline, we are approaching transformation layers. We are implementing S/4HANA on the manufacturing side of the house. That's where we have started. That kind of sets the benchmark for clean core and modular design. Our finance migration is not going to be, that is in ECC, is not going to be lift and shift. We are trying to make it, or thinking through of making it a capability-led redesign in Signavio. And again, I'm talking about the from the lens of the key takeaways from Sapphire, also kind of trying to make the bridge between the constructs, if you will. So capability-led redesign in Signavio, rationalized through LeanIX, supported by governed data foundations in Informatica. That's our master data governance and data lake data governance platform, and Azure, right? Because as I said, we have major investments in Azure. With most infrastructure and data workloads now in Azure, I think our architectural decisions center around SAP as the process backbone and Azure as sort of the intelligence and delivery foundation, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you. So in Venu's initial answer about one of his key takeaways, he mentioned the flywheel effect. And so I'm not sure if 100% of our attendees today were able to attend Sapphire or listen to Christian's keynote, but the flywheel effect is the building over time of incremental capabilities. So at first, leveraging the power of the SAP Business Suite applications to generate data, the Business Data Cloud to provide analytic capabilities, and the ability to marry up SAP and non-SAP data and create data products and AI, clean, governed AI data, and then at the end of the flywheel, having delivered AI capabilities, which then feed back into the transactional systems and create a virtuous cycle of harmonized, optimized data and business processes that are continually being enriched through the application of AI. So jumping, I guess, back to you again, Sugato, from a lifecycle management perspective, with the understanding that you all are earlier in the S4 part of the application journey, are there other areas that you are looking at kind of leveraging that flywheel model for Medline? So whether it's looking at your data and analytics strategy or kind of looking at your broader SAP application portfolio.
Absolutely, I think that's that's the right way to think about it, right? From at least from a company like Medline, very compelling vision. But I feel from a purely architectural lens, I think it only works if the architectural thought process and the structure, the base is strong, right? So if you really think about it, data must be trustworthy, your process events must be observable, and the systems generating and consuming the insights must be context aware. I think these are key for the flywheel to be actually operational and give you insight that you're looking for. I think from our perspective, I kind of talked about already, we are looking at the S/4HANA manufacturing systems to provide that clean, event-driven operational data, while ECC is being evaluated. We are going to do pre-projects much before we actually go on the migration journey. So we are thinking of transitioning with process instrumentation to actually kind of dismantle some of the custom code that we have in ECC with BTP applications, loosely coupled BTP applications, AppDev. I think that's one of the thought processes that the flywheel talks about, but not very specifically, I guess. Data is something we are cleansing through a master data governance program, through Informatica, and I'm talking about data quality and lineage in our Azure Data Lake with a medallion architecture. I think AI, and I guess we'll talk about business AI, but we are only thinking about business AI where input trust is high. I mean, if it will only be used from that perspective. I think from the SAP lens, that means BTP orchestration for agent logic, Azure-based intelligence for broader analytics, and obviously from the traceability angle, I think LeanIX will connect our business capabilities as well as become sort of the APM platform for doing rationalization, technology standards, and so on. Hopefully that answered the question.
I think that was pretty thorough. So Matthew, at Panasonic, again, understanding that you are, I think, probably at the other end of the transformation journey where most of your workloads are running on S4. How are you all making that flywheel model real for your organization?
Yeah, so I think in our world, because we already have S4 implemented, and we made a conscious decision to try to not customize our S4 core and kind of follow the clean core approach based on SAP best practices. All of our business units that we bring on to S4 already know that those customizations that they had in the older system are not being brought forward into the S4 system. So where a lot of our early discovery meetings are around fit gap analysis and justification for anything that would be considered a competitive advantage, and how do we provide that information or those services through a formal extension framework, and that comes back to the maturity of SAP. Clean core just used to be a term that was thrown around, and now there's more emphasis put on guidance and structure and tools to help first analyze what you have, and then sort of give you a roadmap, if you will, on how to move forward if you do have extensions that need to occur. Some of the other tools in the flywheel we've adopted, we heavily rely on Cloud ALM for operations and implementation. We've partnered with Tricentis for test automation, and we're really consuming sort of a lot of the innovation in a manner that when the problem presents itself, looking at the tool chain to say, right, is there a solution in here that either helps us solve the problem or accelerates the resolving those problems or challenges or opportunities, depending on how you look at it. So, we've looked into LeanIX a little bit. We've had some discussions around business data cloud, and AI is definitely in our future. But to what Sugato said, the data is super important, and really from a customer perspective, you should be considering AI where you've got trusted data, so that you're not making poor decisions based on what AI tells you based on poor inputs. So that sort of I wouldn't call it a story as much as an analogy or the picture of the flywheel makes a lot of sense, because being a company that is based out of Japan, it very much aligns to the sort of continuous improvement mindset, and evolution, not necessarily a one and done type activity. So at least that's what we took away from Sapphire. And I actually really enjoyed that story. It was something I sort of leaned into at the conference.
Yes, I mean the flywheel model, the Kaizen model, it all works, right?
Yep.
And so Venu, with your role of being engaged with multiple SAP customers who are also on their S4 and their cloud ERP journey, how are you seeing this flywheel effect come into play with the customers that you're working with?
Yeah. So a lot of customers have already showed more interest, especially on BDC and also business AI, because moving from on-prem to cloud ERP, they're gonna bring them into the new S4 system that's on cloud, take all the advantage of the business features. But a lot of companies still have these needs of data that they currently do it with ETL, extract, transform, and load. And what they realize is with BDC, they don't need to do that. All the data is coming directly from SAP onto BDC, and on top of it, on BDC, you could use Databricks for AI ML capabilities on top of SAP Ask, and then also this end-to-end Joule agents and Joule that can orchestrate your questions or get the information that you need. And while S4 project is already in a transformation, the most important part is how can we take advantage of clean core? This question is being asked a lot. How do we make sure that because if they're clean, then they can take advantage of the standard features, and that can help their at the end their business processes to make sure they're upgrade ready, they're innovation ready, and all right. And then also saying, what is it that I should stop doing now? Because if they have a data strategy, can they wait until the BDC is available with all the data products that are coming up, or which version is coming up and what releases and all, right? And then with business AI, there are 230 use cases that are already available, and there are 400 plus use cases which will be available by end of this year. There's also interest in which of these use cases that are coming up, because if there is any need for any custom development, they may want to hold back if this is already coming by end of this year. So we get these questions a lot. It really shows that a lot of customers want to really take advantage of this flywheel and how they can use their apps to generate the data, and then the data can be used for their AI.
That makes sense. Great. I see that we have several questions in the chat that are related to our next topic, which was our integrated tool chain. I see that some of them are pretty like detailed technical implementation questions. And so I know that Panasonic is not currently using LeanIX, and Sugato, I believe Medline is also not using LeanIX, or you are using LeanIX today?
We just started our journey on LeanIX.
Okay.
We had a different EA repository before, so it's not
Got it.
it's not an alien construct for us, but yeah.
All right. I say, and so Venu, I don't know if you have a perspective on this around the LeanIX meta model changes from V3 to V4, and how that I think accomplishes what we were saying. I think if there are changes in the meta model from V3 to V4 that help enable organizations to model or take advantage or plan for a business-led or a business-driven transformation to kind of take advantage of these flywheel effect concepts.
So I can add about the delta or the difference between V3 and the V4 model. So there has been continuous evolution also on LeanIX side. If you hear from Sapphire, the AI agentic builder is also available on LeanIX, where you could actually say what is this agent used for and how they are used, and you can document all of that in LeanIX and integrate with which business applications it is related to. And when it comes to the difference between the V3 and V4, right, there is a new fact sheet called platform that is now included, which is not included in the V3 model. And there's also something, instead of processes, it is now changed to business context. And I have included the link for the differences between V3 and V4. V4 is a new enhanced version where you can have additional fact sheets created based on the different types of these meta models. But otherwise, functionality wise, you will see all of these features, but there are additional capabilities that are available in the V4 model.
Right. I can just add, to what Venu is saying.
Absolutely.
It's just, I think, as you have already talked about, I think the functionality is not remarkably different between the two meta models, so to speak. I think it's more of a, I see it as a strategic approach enhancement that SAP is doing. Like, so if you look at the V4 meta model, it's talking about business data and applications as a fact sheet, as a fact sheet grouping, if you will, right? The platform fact sheet is available. So I think it's a more strategic approach. The fact sheets were still available. The platform fact sheet is obviously an addition, but fact sheets were available in the V3 meta model as well. But I think it was a little bit organic. It was basically the steps were sort of more granular. Now it is more strategic. And maybe it was more tactical, if you will. I'm looking at it from the perspective of it's a more strategic enterprise architectural thought process that's been injected into it to kind of take it to the next level, so to speak. Because I mean, you should look at the platform lens, for example, for complex landscapes. So I think that's the big difference. I don't see the average enterprise work very differently between the two meta models.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Sugato. I think the main difference with that V3 to V4 is showing the evolution of that continued partnership between LeanIX and SAP, and the understanding of the level of complexity of architecture work that folks who are running large, mature SAP landscapes need to undertake. So not only lifecycle managing an application, but also lifecycle managing, a NetWeaver platform version, as well as infrastructure versions, application versions, between all of the various different releases, and being able to pull that into a single consolidated entity with that platform fact sheet type that helps kind of manage an SAP landscape, or an SAP productive SID, and all of the various facets that go into that from a lifecycle management and a planning and an implementation perspective. And so
Absolutely.
I think
Well said.
Yeah, and I think that leads into the next question of, what would we tell an organization if they have highly customized their LeanIX solution? And from my perspective, I don't know that we would give significantly different guidance on a LeanIX solution versus any other solution, which is, understand why you made the customizations that you made. Understand what the current capabilities of the newly delivered releases are, and then make a plan to, where possible, move toward leveraging the standard delivered capabilities, because that is going to accelerate your ability to take on new innovations going forward. So, Venu, Matthew, I know, Matthew, you guys have a ton of kind of general clean core capabilities. Would you give any additional advice?
Yeah, I think it's really really a mindset, and to move forward in a manner in which, customizations are nice because it gives you flexibility, but there has to be some thought put into, are we making a decision now, or are we making a decision that's going to last for years to come? And that's usually where you get the customization sort of snowball effect, if you will. Year one, it might be 20 customizations, and year two it's 200, and suddenly you want to upgrade, and you that's where the challenge then becomes, is to question some of those. We're even, so when I'll tell an interesting story, because we're not 100% clean core. When we went live with S4, we had to make certain customizations because there was really no clear alternative to making those customizations. So we went ahead and made them because they were required by the business. But we're now at a point where we've got the knowledge and the experience, and have built out some capability within BTP where we're being asked to go back and look at some of those decisions and either say, is that standard functionality now? If so, roll that customization back and go with the standard, or look at that customization and say, is there a better way to do that through some other model of extensibility? So we're constantly going back and questioning our decisions, because decisions are typically made through a certain lens and a certain point in time. And if you ask the same question a year or two later, the answer you might get could be different. So we're constantly evolving, questioning our earlier decisions, and where it makes sense, rolling back those changes and then doing it maybe a different way.
Oh, that's really, really a great point. And Venu, anything to add on that front?
Yes, I mean, to what Matthew pointed out, right? So it is always best to stay standard, right? If there is really a need where you need to customize, I mean, specifically in the area of Linux, it's better to understand what does it mean for the new upgrades, or what does it mean for the new innovations that Linux is going to release, right? But again, the best approach is to stick to standard. If you have to add like a field extra here and there where is little configuration, I think those things should be fine. But if it is something that you need to make the change to the code and things like that, that is where it becomes very difficult, especially in Linux, because I believe there are options to add additional fields to the customer requirements. That is still part of the configuration. But Matthew, coming to a point, I mean, I really like the idea of rethinking so your existing processes which you already built on S4, and then redesigning it to fit to what is available today. Because what would have happened is at the time of implementation, maybe this new feature was not available, and this is exactly what you're trying to do. Hey, this is already available in S4, so what should we do with this code, right? Should we retire it? Should we renovate it? Or should we readapt with the BTP, cloud ready architecture, leveraging tier one, tier two, tier three, making the right decision? Because then you are, moving from one stage to another stage. If you keep this and if you continue your, journey, this will never go away, right? So that's really a great approach, what Panasonic is doing.
No, that completely is excellent guidance, Venu. Shifting over slightly in our the business transformation management solution set, we have a question around the use of business process and business architecture in Signavio. So how can an enterprise architecture or business architecture team ensure that all of the process flows are accurately captured in Signavio? So with the understanding that most of the actual knowledge is captured or persists within your business and doesn't necessarily persist within your IT organization. And I will start by saying Signavio as a set of capabilities doesn't typically tend to put its trust in people accurately describing what the business process is supposed to be or how it was designed. It is really a very data-driven platform. And so rather than saying, okay, well, what was the process, what is the process based on process documentations or how people think they are using the system or think other people are using the system, using the process intelligence and process insights components of the Signavio suite, it's going to allow pulling in the data and then recreating that end-to-end process execution, even if that crosses system boundaries between SAP and non-SAP systems. So you have probably how the process was designed, you have how your business users think the process is running, and then you have how the process is actually running as substantiated by the data that shows the transaction flows across systems. And those are typically three different facets of how your organization is executing. So anything to add there, Venu?
No, I see that there's also a question. So thank you for that answer. That's very good. And for the business users, I see that how can enterprise ensure accurately captured in Signavio? So typically, I mean, the access for Signavio should also be extended to business users. Maybe there is like a business expert who can take it, and then there should also be like this continuous sync between IT teams and business teams. Make sure that whatever the architecture has been defined is clearly aligned by those teams together. And if there's any new changes, always start with Signavio business process and say which process you want to change, which block you want to change, and also it's best to move away from the visual flows or your PowerPoint flows and just get into Signavio, open up this end-to-end flow. If you're talking about order to cash and say, okay, is it in order intake? Is it in delivery? Is it in shipment? Where, or is it in PGI? Is it in, where is the process, right? And then pinpoint that particular process step and say, what are the steps involved in this? And then what are the changes that the business is asking for, and if these are already embedded or available in the newer release, right? So those type of discussions would help, but ensuring that business and IT are working together in the business process creation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that completely. Sugato, Matthew, anything to add there?
I think, I mean, the question was, I mean, the way I read the question was, what is enterprise or business architecture's involvement in making sure the process models that we are creating are accurate? I think I'll shift the focus a little bit. I think enterprise architecture and business architecture's thought process in this area is more on the capability side of the house. The capability modeling needs to be as accurate as possible. So if you think about capability models that actually can be linked to revenue models or cost models, I think that's where enterprise architecture's focus is. I'm not saying we have nothing to say when it comes to process modeling, but the level 3, level 4 capability models is our major thrust, right? I think Signavio at the moment is very focused on the SAP process modeling side of the house. I mean, yes, it can manage other source systems as well, but that capability set is not as strong as it needs to be, in my opinion. I think the focus area I mean, if you really think about it, most companies actually struggle when it comes to the specific portfolios, what capabilities they need. I think enterprise architecture has its work cut out in that sphere already. Like, how do we make sure that this is the true capability set that we need now and in the future? It's not just about now, right? How you map out your next 5 years roadmap to your capability model. That's where most of enterprise architecture's focus is going to be. I think those are hard conversations. Those are not very easy conversations to have with your business counterparts, because you need to think very clearly where you are today and where you need to go, and that has direct input from business strategy, right? I think that's the sphere that EA needs to operate in, whether it is business architecture or EA in general. I think the business process, the industry best practice of a business process, that is the thought process that Signavio brings in. So I think that area to that level of detail is very much a business process analyst or business process expert playing field, if you will, with the business process owners. And I completely agree with Venu that I think everybody should have access, even business process owners should have access, so that they have a sense of ownership to the business process being modeled. I think if the business process modeling is not accurate, you're not going to get much, even if it shows differences from the best practice in the industry, right? So I think that is what needs to be sold to the right leaders, that this is what we are doing for improving business process in terms of comparison to best practices in the industry.
Right. I think we have just a little bit more time to answer one more set of questions around business AI. So I'll start with you, Matthew. So where is Panasonic starting with the business AI implementations for your organization?
Yeah, sure. The first place we're starting, and this is not a linear sort of body of work. It's obviously we've got to address the technology component first. That's one of the primary drivers to us upgrading S4 to version 2023, specifically Feature Pack Stack 2, which is the sort of the entry point to using business AI within S4. And in parallel to that, we're working with our Max Attention team to identify sort of common use cases, business use cases for using business AI within S4, and trying to find opportunities for quick wins, because the saying "success begets success" is something we believe in. It's not all about hitting a home run, but you can get the same effect by going for smaller wins and giving something back to the business, because oftentimes through transformation, it feels a lot like it's a technical activity, when in truth it really should be helping the business solve business problems. So giving something back to the business as tangible. This is what's going to help you. It's not just, hey, here's a business process. We're going to change it and we're going to make it standard, and that'll make upgrades easier. But what do they get? What do they get out of that deal? And we're really starting to focus heavily on where we can give back to the business and show them the value in some decisions that we made early on, and why being in a clean core state allows us to. We always talk about consuming innovation, and they're standing there going, "What innovation?" So, right, we're looking at business AI as a real opportunity to showcase AI capabilities built into the application, and having it have an immediate effect on operations.
And Sugato, is that similar to how Medline is thinking about AI as well? Again, with the understanding that you guys are not on S4, so you're not implementing SAP delivered AI, but are rather developing your own AI use cases.
Yes, right. So I think we are how should I put it? We are looking at the SAP advancements with cautious vigilance, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Because SAP is a major player in the enterprise, and I think where SAP data lies, it's not such a bad idea to have Joule actually create a chat agent. If it's just SAP data, if it's just only going to be focusing on the S4 environment. So that's something we want to do for the future. We are not dismissing SAP's technology tool stack just because it's not very good for us in our present scheme of things. So I think what I'll say is, if in complex ERP landscape, the question is not when we use AI, it's where it makes sense to trust it, right? So we are piloting agents in S4 in our manufacturing environment, routing orchestration logic, AI BTP, where SAP agents are not yet mature or applicable. Obviously, the ECC environment, we are thinking of Azure OpenAI and Microsoft Fabric pipelines filling the gap. So I think we want to use domain-specific AI and even analytics tools. We can talk about operational analytics when we talk about BDC, but I think that's where my mind goes to. If it's domain specific and it makes sense to use it in a specific context, I'm not going to say OpenAI is the answer for everything. I think SAP has a very strong role to play in the future.
All right. So with our 1 minute left, can you gentlemen each share where our audience can get in touch with you or find you if they want to have follow-up conversations or go a little bit deeper? I'll start with you, Venu.
Yeah, I think the best would be to reach out on LinkedIn. I'll put my LinkedIn contact here, and you can send a message, and we will have a connect. And I will be able to communicate, or if you need an expert, I will try to get to the right expert as well, who is in that specific line of business. So thank you very much.
All right, and Sugato?
I'm fairly active on LinkedIn. I was going to say the same, so Venu just stole my lines. But just joking. Yes, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm fairly active there. I respond to people fairly quickly as well. So
Great.
yeah.
And Matthew?
Yeah, LinkedIn works for me, or go through your SAP account executive, and right, we can work that angle through our account executives and line up conversations if required.
Yep, and same for me as well. Please do feel free to reach out or connect on LinkedIn. I am the only one with my name out there, so I'm pretty easy to find. And again, thank you, panelists. Thank you for your time, and thanks, audience, for your questions. It's been a true pleasure. Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Wonderful. Well, yeah, just wanted to say from all of us here at the organising team, a very big thank you to